So I was just telling these guys that you have a big game-changing test coming up next week because your grade's only been based on Chapter 1. So if we can get this Chapter 2 test to go well, it's a game changer. And honestly, I think Chapter 2 is the hardest one of the course. Because then it goes to statistics, and statistics is easier. Does that make sense? So this chapter, if we can get through this with a passing grade, I think things will really turn a corner. So first of all, when we're doing the deck of cards, I'm putting a 52 on the bottom because the total always goes on the bottom for probability. This word "and" we've talked about a ton. You're going to see it a lot on your test. What does the word "and" mean? Multiply. So we're going to go put a little multiply there. And both of these are about cards. But before you put a 52 on the bottom, you have to see if you're putting the card back in the deck. And this one says with replacement. So whatever you picked first goes back in the deck. So that gets to stay 52. If it said without replacement, what would I knock it down to? 51. All right. So the next thing is we have to know how many kings are in a deck. You need to know that. 4. Yep, there's 4 of every 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9s. So let's write this down, Nick, because we'll be entering them later. And you won't remember like all the, then you're gonna have to just read them.
You're supposed to turn them into decimals, right? Like
you can. I looked at how the answers were on Schoology, and you can go decimal or percent, but you have to be careful with the rounding. So yeah, we'll be careful when we do that. Now there aren't. The king went back in the deck, but it wouldn't even affect the queens. Okay, those are called independent events. But there's 4 queens as well. So one like this, you should totally get right. You're going to take out your calculator, and I'll start with you, Champ. We're just going to rotate. Do 4 divided by 52 times 4 divided by 52. And we'll go ahead and leave it as a decimal, I think. And you can just enter the first. It should be 0.00 something.
So 4 divided by 52 times.
4 divided by 52 times 4 divided by 52. It's a small percent, so.
You messing up.
0.0059.
Okay, let's round it to 6 because I know that's accepted on Schoology. That's correct. You can call it 0.006 or 0.6%, but I think if you forget to enter the percent, it'll mark it wrong. So like Ethan said, we're just going to go ahead and keep it as a decimal. Ethan, if you guys had that one wrong or in a different form, I'd change it. Can you put your phone away though, bud?
Yeah.
All right, so that one's done. Now let's go look at B. Probability the first is a king. So again, that's 52 cards. And means multiply 52 cards, right? So, because we're replacing them. And again, there's 4 kings. Okay, so 4 kings. But do you guys know how many of each of the suits there are? Clubs, diamonds. Because I hate to have you know how to do probability and get it wrong because you don't know your cards. So there's the card deck has got 52 in it, and it's split into hearts, diamonds. If you don't play cards, it's kind of hard to know. I play cards quite a bit. The clubs and spades. So, well, there's 4 different suits, but there's an even number of these in the 52. So you have to do 52 divided by 4 to see how many of each there are. Okay?
16.
Nope. Go ahead and do it. 52 divided by 4. And this number gets used a lot. Anytime it talks about the diamonds, the hearts, the clubs, or the spades. 13 of each. Okay? 13 of each. And what they are is 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s. So this one would be a 13 because there's 13 clubs. If it had said diamonds, you'd still use 13. If it said spades, you'd still use 13. But then, Nick, you're working good on that calculator. So I'm going to have you type in 4 divided by 52 times 13 divided by 52. And we'll leave it as a decimal because I know that that'll be accepted.
0.019.
Perfect, 019. So you guys are for sure going to get these 2 right when you enter them on Schoology for this assignment. And we're going to get as far as we can, okay? And again, we're going to go back to number 1. This one should have seemed pretty doable, right, guys? We're going to make sure we can get at least the easy and medium ones right, so you can at least maybe get a B. And if we have time, we'll do the hardest ones. How does that sound? All right, so the next one. A pet store owner surveys his customers during the day, and he's got 15 who own dogs, 9 who own cats, and 4 who own both. Remember with the Venn diagram, I said last chapter to build it from the middle. So we need the both in the middle. That goes here. So go ahead and draw that. And we're doing dogs and we're doing cats. So 4 people have both pets, a dog and a cat. I hate cats personally.
My cat's stupid.
Exactly. I'm just not a cat fan. If I'm offending anyone on the video and you love cats, that's okay.
My mom.
I like big dogs like golden retrievers, labs,
Hey, dude,
mastiffs.
I got a Saint Bernard.
I grew up with a Saint Bernard. Her name was Libby. I used to ride her like a horse.
Yeah, when I was little, I had a Saint Bernard named Chloe.
I love them. They're so drooly though.
Yeah, I know, but
gross.
they can get cancer really easy.
Yep, that's what my Libby did, and at a young age too. She was 9.
So what happened was my dog got a lump in her leg, and then we had to amputate her.
And that'd be hard for Saint Bernard. They're so big.
Yeah, she was running around with 3 legs. She was having a good time, and then it came back, except it was all through her.
That's a bummer.
Yeah,
But
so
I would not be in this middle because there's no way I'd ever have a cat. All right, so let's go build this. Are you ready, guys? Back in. 15 own dogs, but 4 have a cat as well. So when you're figuring out what goes out here, it has to add up
11.
to 15. Yeah, so you have to put an 11 over there. I would be over in one of these people. Nick, did you say you have a dog and a cat, or just a cat?
dog and a cat.
So Nick would be one of these in the middle. Now out here in this lobe are the ones who only have cats, but we've got the 4 people like Nick who's in the middle. Right, guys, so there's 5 here. So when it says how many total customers were surveyed, we don't add up all these numbers, because if we did, we'd count Nick twice. Like if we added up this and this and this. So you've got to make sure that you take the ones, if you're going to just use the numbers and not the Venn diagram, you can go 15 owned dogs and 9 owned cats, but I just counted 4 people twice. You can do it like that. Like Nick's in this group and in this group, and he's only one person. So we need to make sure we don't count these twice. So either make a Venn diagram and add these numbers up, or if you're going to add them up from the total, like Ethan, I said you had 24.
Yeah,
you have to be careful with that because you're counting the boths twice that way. So it's actually a 20, so change your answer. I'm glad you had it done though. I'm proud of you for taking care of business. All right, suppose one of the customers was selected at random, total of 20. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So own a dog. How many own dogs? 15. Thank you for not saying 11, because Nick owns a dog. So you got to include those boths in there. Let's go ahead and, I think you can just leave that one a fraction. Yeah, I wrote down the exit. Yep, you can just leave that a fraction. You don't even need to reduce it. Suppose one of these customers was selected at random. This slash, think of it as like a division bar. It's the word given, but the own a cat go on the bottom. So it says given that you own a cat.
20.
So how many people own a cat? That's only cats though. Remember the boths count. You own a cat. 9, thank you. I'm glad there is somebody in here who has both because it makes sense. But of those, how many own a dog? 4. Okay, so you have to put the denominator. Think of this when you take your test as like a fraction bar, and make sure the number here is what goes on the bottom. Okay? What is the probability you own a cat given you own a dog? Well, again, the dogs need to go, and again, I need to count that middle. Nick owns a dog, right? And then it says own a cat. So you need the ones that have a dog and a cat. So you have to put that 4 on the top. So keep in mind, this own a dog, own a cat, think of it as like a fraction bar, and it goes on the bottom. The other one goes on top. Okay? So let's go here. 2 cards are dealt from a 52 card deck without replacing them. So we're going to go 52. 52. And again, what always goes on the bottom, guys? The total. And I'm not knocking it. Oh, it says without replacement. Uh-oh. Somebody should have caught that, right? 51. All right. What is the probability that neither of the two cards are face cards? So I want not a face, and I'm just going to write NF because we have to figure out how many. And not a face. And means multiply. So do you know what they mean by face cards?
Yeah.
The kings, yeah, and there's 4 of them, so let's count those up. We've got 4 kings, thank you, 4 jacks,
Isn't there
4
4 in each category?
queens,
4
yes.
in each category.
So there's, excellent, you guys, you're on a roll. See, focus on your test and you're gonna do really well. So there's 12 face cards. That doesn't go on the top here because it said not a face card. So the whole rest of the deck aren't face cards. So what am I going to ask you to do with these two numbers?
52 minus
Yes,
40.
52 minus 40. So right here, 40. Okay, there are 40 cards that are not face cards, correct?
Yes.
But Nick pulled one out and he's holding on to it. Maybe he pulled out the 5 of hearts and he's holding it in his hand. So I have to take that 40 and say, uh-oh, now I'm down to 39. Now I need calculator help because I don't know that in my head. We'll leave it as a decimal to 3 decimal places. Point. And I think I'm just going to have Nick be my calculator most of the time, but I want to make sure you two know how to use yours right.
588.
Because I'm convinced if he sets it up right, he's going to get it right. I'm a little worried about the other two working your calculator right, so I will go to you guys up just to make sure you can. He's just a little faster at it. All right, so the next one up here, and again, we'll go back to number 1 if we have time. Well, how do you think those 4 would go if they had been on your test? You got to be really careful with the replacement or not replacement. Remember what we said to do with these tables? They're called two-way tables, is you need to get all your totals. So let's share the labor here. Champ, oh, I can add that up. 12, 13, 31, right? And then we're going to add up. Go ahead. I'm going to have you go ahead and add up. Champ, 5 plus 6 on the calculator, plus 18 plus 7. We're getting our totals. 36, he says, and I'll be able to check if he's right in just a second. I need you, Nick, to add up 7 and 7.
31.
31. Perfect. And I need you, Ethan, to add up
67 instead of 20.
Perfect. Did they add up to 67? Okay, and they should. So we've got it locked in at 67. So if we're grabbing just out of the total bunch of people, 67 is our denominator, so 67 goes right here. When it has this given, then we have to adjust our denominator. Okay, but actually, the first 3 are going to have a 67 on the bottom. Are you ready? How many males are there?
36.
There we go. Let's leave that one as a fraction. So when you enter it on Schoology, it'll accept the fraction. I already checked, because I think sometimes we get them wrong because you're putting them in a form that's not accepted. Does that ever happen? Where you're like, oh, shoot. So let's go do the 39 years or younger. Now the word or, we have to be careful with that, because the word or means we add them up. So 39 years or younger would be these, for sure, right? But what else do you think I have to include? For example, you would be, yeah, because like you guys are what, 16, 15? How old are you guys? 14, right? You would be considered 39 or younger, right? You would be in this group over here. So we have to make sure we add those up. Whenever you see or, you should be adding stuff up. All right, and that's a 25, and we can leave that as a fraction. All right, the next one. Again, what's on the denominator, guys? 67. The total's always on the bottom. You're either a male or, and what do we say we do with ors? Add. So we need the males, which you guys already got, or at least 50. So let's go back up to our at least 50. How many people are at least 50? 11. Now, this is where you have to be careful because your teacher said that when they are not mutually exclusive or when they overlap, it's like Nick owning the cat and the dog. We have to make sure we don't count them twice. So anyone that's a male over 50 is currently in here 2 times, and they're not 2 people, right? Unless they're one of those conjoined, well, even conjoined twins have 2 different names, right? So we have to make sure we take out the males that got counted at the over 50s. Do you see how I'm crossing there? There's 4 of those people who got counted twice. They're in both the row and the column. We have to make sure we take them out. You guys are really listening. So go ahead and somebody be my calculator. And we can leave it, how do I want you to leave this one? What are we on here? Let's leave that one as a fraction. So Nick, we're just going to go 36 plus 11 is 47, right? Minus 4. So you're right. Yep, 43 out of 67. All right. So notice on all of these, my total was 67 because it didn't have that word given. But what did I tell you that we do when it says given? Think of it as like a fraction bar, right? And what did I say to put on the bottom? The total of these. So how many females are there according to this chart? 31. Yep, that's my new denominator because I have to make sure that they're women. Okay? My numerator would be the women who are 30 to 39 years old. How many women are 30 to 39 years old? Nope, because that includes the men too. They have to be a woman, right? And they have to be 30 to 30. Nope, because this includes the men. They have to be a woman.
Oh, then 7.
7. Yeah.
Oh, I
So
see.
yeah. You got to be careful because you assume they're a woman first, and then they have to be. So you might even want to think of that word given as and. All right. Next up, a female given that they are at least 40. So that goes on my denominator. You have to go back up to the chart, and I lost it. At least 40. It would be the denominator, all the people who are at least 40 would be 31 of them, right? But how about like me? I'm 52. Am I at least 40? Yeah. So I have to include both of those. So we have to be really careful that when we say at least 40, we got these guys, the 42-year-old, but these guys are also at least 40. They're well over 40. So make sure you say, oh, there's 42 who are at least 40. And now I need the women who are at least 40. So I go back up here, and I'm looking at my women who are at least 40. How many women are at least 40?
13.
Yeah. And? 17. Exactly. Why did you change it to 17?
I didn't know.
Because, yeah, you've got to add those up because you got to be careful with that at least. I doubt they'll have one that hard on your test, but maybe. And we can just leave that one as a fraction. So now we're going to talk about cars. So when you see one of these tables on the test, don't even read the questions yet. What are you going to do with these numbers? Both, I'll add them. So let's go take I can do a couple when they're, so 14 plus 8, I can do that one. It's pretty easy. There are 24 GM, General Motors vehicles. There are 23 Ford vehicles in this lot. There are 22, Ethan, can you write these down? And the Toyotas, there's 16. What I need you to do, champ, is add those 4 numbers up. Okay? So I went this way, now we're gonna go across. So Nick, you're gonna take out your calculator and go 14 plus 11 plus 12 plus 7.
44.
All right, and then you're going to go 8 plus 9 plus 5 plus 6.
28.
Awesome. And then you're going to go, well, I can do this. I think we don't need a calculator for this. 5 plus 5, 13. Now, champ, what did you get when you added your 4 numbers up down here?
85.
85. That better be what Nick gets when he adds these three up, or something's wrong. If your total doesn't end up the same, both across and down. So when Nick adds the 44 that we got, the 28 that we got, and the 13 we got, we better get the 85 you got.
Yeah, man.
Then we're good?
Yeah.
And where does this number go for all the questions that don't have the word given? 5. Awesome. So let's go put that on the bottom right here, the bottom right here, the bottom right here. But now we see that word given, so I'm going to put a slash and a slash. Okay? Are you ready, champ?
Yes.
I want to know what's the probability that I just randomly say I want that one, and I end up with a Ford. So what number is going to go on the top of this fraction?
Cool.
I end up with a Ford vehicle. It could be in a car, a Ford truck, or a Ford 23. I actually have a Jeep, so I'm not up here. But I used to have a Toyota, so I would have been over now. And we can just leave that as a fraction when you enter it on Schoology. Now I want to know what's the probability if Champ goes in and let's suppose he's suddenly blinded and he goes, I think I want that one. What's the probability he ends up with a truck?
28.
Thank you. We're getting how to read these. 28. We can just leave that as a fraction. Now what did we say we do for ors? We add and then we have to make sure we don't count anybody twice. So you grab your vans first. Where's our vans? 13. Our Toyotas. 16. But are there any that are both Toyotas and vans? So like a Toyota van. There are, right? How many are both? You head like this, you go, there's 3 that I counted both times. So you take it out. So what I need you to do on your calculator, 13 plus the 16 minus the 3. So be careful with that word or. When you're on your test, you do just add, but you got to make sure, like when we did the dogs or cats, Nick was in the dog and in the cat. And he's only one person, so we have to take him out. All right, so go ahead and add that up, champ. Give us a grand. So he's saying 26 out of 85. All right, let's see if we got it, and then we're going to quit. When it says given, we have a new denominator. And remember, champ, I said it's this. So the vehicle is built by GM. That's all I'm looking at, is the GM. How many were built by GM?
24.
Of those, how many were cars? So think of that given as a fraction bar. 14. Excellent. What do you think, guys? Now we got a big chunk of this done, and if you're like, and it's all 100% correct. So if you want to ace this assignment, what you're going to do is, because tomorrow, I'm recording this for them, so I'm not going to go through it all. They're not watching it, whatever, right? But tomorrow, we'll finish it with them. So the 3, so what should you probably do at home tomorrow, for sure for math?
Redo it.
Log on to my Schoology, right? And watch numbers 1, and then what other ones did we finish?
I think there's
1, 6, and 7, I think, right?
no, we did everything except 1.
Did we?
Yeah.
No, because there was some tree diagram stuff. Let me check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, There's still more. See, we didn't do 7. So 1, 7, and 8, I think. Whatever. The rest of that assignment we're going to finish with the B group tomorrow. So if you want to make sure you enter this one and get 100% tomorrow, log on and finish it. You guys should go to science.
Can I get a new copy because I don't have all the papers?
Oh, you don't have all the papers. You'll have to ask your teacher for that, honey.